I'm a member of the Scientific Forum Committee.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Prof.
Morning,
Adil.
morning, Doc.
Doctor. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Adil. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Adil.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام.
اهلا وسهلا يا مرحبا.
صباح الخير دكتور عادل. صباح
يا
الخير.
مرحب. صباح الخير. صباح الانوار. اهلا وسهلا يا مرحب.
So happy to meet you.
اهلا. I am thrilled to have you all there. اهلا وسهلا. اهلا.
So let's start.
Yes.
Let's start. Yes, dear audiences, very good morning to you all. On behalf of my colleagues and the Scientific Forum Committee, I would like to thank you all for kind attendance, with a special thanks, of course, to our guest from outside Oman, and wish you a very fruitful episode. The first episode of series of future episodes meant to look at our teachers' products from a scientific perspective, which may lead to a professional development at our college from a pedagogical viewpoint. In short, Al-Zahra College for Women, represented by the Deanship, tries the best to help the professional development at the college. And the question now, what makes teaching better in any establishment? It is the products and achievements of its staff. Ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting today for a new phenomenon at our college, which is the teaching nexus. We are waiting for a research done by a staff member to make use of it in our courses and to enlighten our students' mind with products done by their teachers. It's time to use our research in teaching, which encourages our students to have another access to their teachers' different perspectives. So before I leave the floor to Dr. Adil, there is an important act to be done by our esteemed audiences. It is the process of filling a form which can help deciding whether or not the paper is available for Teaching Nexus. Your meticulous answers to the form reached via the link attached, which I'm going to attach it to you, will help accurate and objective decision of selecting the presented paper for future teaching materials in a course or more at our departments in general and GFP or English language and literature departments in particular. The first part is specified for the audiences from outside GFP and the English language and literature departments. Please fill the first part only, while members of the aforementioned two departments are kindly requested to fill the two parts. Finally, on behalf of you all, let me welcome Dr. Adil Al-Khafaji, Head of General Foundation Program at Al-Zahra College for Women. And I would like to leave the floor to him to present his paper. All the best, Dr. Adil. Please proceed. The floor is yours now.
Thank you, Dr. Aziz. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody, and a very good morning to you all. Special warm welcome to our colleagues from outside Al-Zahra College. All are welcome here, and I hope you will find this presentation fruitful. Let me first thank the College Dean, Dr. Musallam, for this scholarly initiative. My gratitude goes to the Scientific Forum Committee for giving me the chance to present my paper, and many thanks to Mr. Muhammad Al-Harthi, who drew the background for the slides, and to Dr. Aziz Jasim for the PowerPoint making. Thank you all, and let us see what I have for you. This is a presentation of a paper published recently in an Australian magazine. It's an Australian journal, actually. International Journal of Applied Linguistics and English Literature. The paper was published there recently. It appeared in volume 10, number 2 of the journal. You will get the link later on, inshallah, in case you are interested in downloading the paper itself. It's a free access journal. The abstract I provided in the paper tells that the aim of the paper is to revive interest in introspection. I'll talk in a minute about introspection or how it can be useful to English language teachers, and how it is possible to accommodate it in e-learning, electronic learning. So the paper wanted or aimed at reviving interest in introspection as a tool for probing into foreign language learning strategies. And another aim was to accommodate it in e-learning, and then to suggest a theoretical construct to help come nearer to learners' mental processes. I hope the word mental processes remains in our minds throughout the presentation. The paper is in the field of applied linguistics, and it shows interest in learners' performances. I hope that by the end of this presentation, the respectable audience will know a little more about procedural knowledge, declarative knowledge, and introspection and introspection and retrospection in foreign language learning. Now, as I have just mentioned, that the work is in the field of applied linguistics, and it stems out of an interest in foreign language learners' performances. I'm sure everybody and the respectable members of the audience knows about learners' output and how this output can be useful to teachers, textbook writers, and educationists in general. Now, this interest may go into different directions. One way of looking at students' performances, students or learners' output, is to go into two directions, two major directions. One, which we may call the product-based approach to learners' performances, and the other one is the process-based approach to learners' performances. Now, the product orientation, that is interest in what the learners produce, may take the traditional way of giving the learners something to write. The teacher assigns homework, an assignment, a worksheet, or whatever, composition writing, and asks the students to write something. Or perhaps follow an oral path and ask the learners to read something. As a result, the students will write something for you, the teacher, or say something. Now this can be taken down, written, tabulated, studied, and perhaps the researcher, the investigator, can look for common observations like successful performance, deviations, and so on. This is a very traditional way of looking at learners' output, learners' product, what they produce, whether in writing or in reading. Of course, definitely you might set up tasks particularly designed for this purpose. That is, you design a task that would elicit learners' performances the way you like. And then you ask learners to give you their output. Then you take that output and study it scientifically. Definitely, recurrent systematic observations will be of interest to the investigator because they will show trends in learners' performance. So respectable members of the audience might have gone through practices like that. If not, I would call upon my colleagues who have not tried this to try it. Try your hands with collecting learners' output and try to see common, systematic, recurrent observations and make use of them in successive teaching tasks. We are still with the product orientation, the interest in what the learners give you. So learners' output is collected and analyzed. Output can be coded, tabulated according to its nature and frequency. The word frequency is important here. It points to systematic and recurrent observations that should receive primary attention. As I have just mentioned, this style of research is interested in what the foreign language learners have produced. Now, let us move on to another type of interest. This time, the researcher, teacher, textbook writer, educationist in general might be interested in how the learners learn. The orientation now, the interest now is in how they learn, not in what they learn. In other words, you are interested in what goes on in the learners' minds while involved in acts of foreign language learning. I have highlighted the word how for you. What learning strategies they may adopt and what mental processes go on during acts of learning, that is, while involved in a learning task. I'm sure now a question has jumped into our mind. There is a major uncertainty here. How could one go into learners' minds and explore what's there? This doesn't seem easy to find. Now, before I move to Sigmund Freud, I'll stay with the previous slide and try to emphasize the differences between the two styles of research. Mental processes are definitely something inaccessible. It takes place in the learner's mind. With product, one would be dealing with feasible, spoken, or written material that can be directly worked on. There shouldn't be any problem with that, any bigger problem with that. But mental processes are elusive entities that may look difficult to pin down to scientific scrutiny. How can one work on them? Now, a style of research has taken care of that. I'll go to the early beginnings first and say something on the interest in what people may say and how can this disclose what goes on in their mind. Now let's go to Freud, Sigmund Freud, and his psychoanalysis therapy, which goes back to the beginnings of the previous century. Freud, I'm sure some of you remember, that thought that he had an assumption that causes of mental disorder can be arrived at. You could arrive at mental disorders through spontaneous flow of verbalization of thoughts. That is, when the patient tells you something about their thoughts, you can have a window on certain aspects of any mental disorder which they may have. So during treatment sessions, the psychotherapist tries to make the patient aware of past experience. You make the patient aware of past experience and present behavior and judgments. The way the patient talks about it will tell you something about its nature. Now, It seems, dear colleagues, that applied linguistics have picked up the point and designed what was named the think aloud technique. Now, the think aloud technique means that you make the learner think loudly while involved in acts of language learning, foreign language learning. They think loudly and tell you what goes on in their minds. This assumption has basis for it. They think that to involve the learner, they can involve the learner in self-directed verbalization of thoughts to externalize their mental processes and make them manageable objects of study. In other words, you tell the learner to look back into his own way of thinking and speak it up. Think loudly, just like what Sigmund Freud was doing at the beginnings of the last century. Now, this rest is based on cognitive justification. It is not something that just happened. There are cognitive bases for that. The idea rests on a distinction between what is called procedural knowledge and declarative knowledge. I read parts of the paper for you, if you allow me, and explain. In cognitive studies, a distinction is made between two types of knowledge. The first is the one we use in everyday life, in certain well-established and controlled manners. That is, we use the knowledge we have procedurally, automatically, sometimes even without being aware of what we are doing. A very good example of that is when you drive your car in the morning. You don't say to yourself, I'll press the accelerator now, and I'll do this now, then I'll do that, and then I'll grab the wheel. No, you don't do that. You do this automatically, making use of procedural knowledge. That is knowledge which you have control on. Okay? Now, the second type of knowledge cognitive psychologists mention is a bit different. It requires slow pace of performance and attention. Why? Because it has not been controlled yet. It is not automatic. Its deployment in everyday life has not been mastered yet. You haven't mastered the activity, so you have to attend to whatever you do. This is called declarative knowledge. That is knowledge that you can declare, that you can talk about, that you can verbalize. I hope the distinction is clear now between the two types of knowledge. Knowledge which you use procedurally, automatically, sometimes even subconsciously, and knowledge which you attend to. Why? Because you haven't controlled, you don't have full control over management of the task or activity you are doing. Now, this is where linguistics entered a historical phase of history. They thought that the foreign language learners at one stage is deploying knowledge, using knowledge procedurally when producing correct performances. But when the learner has difficulties, has problems, they stop, they hesitate, they make false starts, backtrackings, and the like. In other words, they are using what cognitive psychology calls declarative knowledge. That is, they can comment on it. They can tell you, the researcher, what goes on in their minds. So the researcher can arrange for, organize sessions in which they give the learner, or perhaps a group of learners, they give them language learning tasks, say composition writing, say completion type questions, whatever. They give them a task and ask them to do it, but at the same time, verbalize their thoughts, tell you what goes on in their minds while involved in task management. It is believed that what they say can be very useful to the investigator because it tells you about the learning strategies. It tells you how they think about it. So it's the same old arrangement of task doing, but this time the session is recorded. You must have seen the mic here next to the student. You involve the learner in foreign language learning tasks, but while recording of loud thinking is going on. Of course, there can be different types of organizations of sessions of this kind. You can think of what is called introspection. That is what we call in Arabic istibطان. That is, you try to get what is inside the learner's mind through what they tell you. This is called in the business introspection. Researchers might be interested in comments after the task. That is, after the student, after the learner finishes with the task, you forward the questions, you send them questions, and you tell them to comment on them. This is called retrospection. That is استبطان متأخر. Intro is while the activity is going on. Concurrent, verbalization of thoughts while the task is being performed. Delayed is after the event takes place. Now, sometimes 2-3 days perhaps after the event, sometimes no, immediately after the event. Each has its own objectives and its own results. So, cognitive psychology thought of procedural and declarative knowledge. There is a comment here, which you may see. Well-controlled practices that go on unnoticed versus practices which are attended to. Therefore, the learner can comment on them, i.e., verbalize them, speak them out. And you can find here this figure, which tells about introspection and retrospection. The distinction, of course, is based on time proximity from the language learning event. Concurrent, while the task performance is going on, or perhaps delayed. You can see here the language event, introspection, retrospection, and delayed retrospection. The learner will be writing something and speaking at the same time. Of course, they can use pen and paper and write, or they can write on computers. But one important thing is that they should keep their versions, improvements, drafts, and do not delete them. They may cross them out, but not delete them. If they are using the computer, they can use the cross through or strike through facility. A strike through crosses out something, but it does not delete it. Later on, when you have a look at that, you can have an access to, you can trace your way back to what the learner was thinking of while they were producing, while they were writing something. And at the same time, you will have the material recorded. Now, introspection, we believe, can be accommodated in e-learning, making use of technologies of the present age, like computers, tablets, and even mobile phones. Verbalization of thoughts can be simply recorded using a mobile phone. The learner can use his or her mobile phone to record what they think of during task performance. Definitely, this can be advanced into a more complicated experimental setting. A more advanced experimental setting can be arranged to document the task. That is, writing and recording at the same time. Now, where is our contribution? Now, I'm sure ladies and gentlemen, you are all aware of the term selfie. S-E-L-F-I-E. A selfie is usually used to refer to a photo taken with a digital device. And the device user is usually included in the photo. The photo will be ready to share electronically in the form of an image file. Very simple fact. We practice it almost every day. But such devices are capable of taking not only photos, they can also record voices. The user is requested to verbalize, to say during foreign language task accomplishment. So what we did is we took the selfie part and we prefixed it to spection and coined the term selfie-spection. Selfie-spection. That is, the learner is requested to not take a photo of himself, but to record their thoughts while involved in acts of foreign language use. This is developed in the research paper into the idea of selfie-spection. Recording goes on during task accomplishment while the learner is disclosing the processes which can be significant to teachers, textbook writers, and educationists in general. Both written and spoken material can be saved in files and shared with the experimenter, who now has a window open on learning strategies. We developed this in the paper into a research paradigm, and we proposed it as follows. The research paradigm starts with task choice. That is, the researcher, whether teacher, practitioner, investigator, chooses a task that suits his purpose, and then chooses the learners, and then conducts a pre-task instruction and warm-up. They train the learners on how to perform, and they conduct warm-up. And then we go to task performance proper. That is, they write and produce textual data and speak through introspection and retrospection, and produce what is called in the business intuitive data. They forward it in digital files to the experimenter, who starts what we call in the business the process inferencing. That is, you try to study them and point out processes, common processes. Then you formalize the data by drawing up reconstructions of mental activity, making use of what we are calling here self-inspection. Of course, the learners here have become informants, sometimes called subjects of the study. I don't like the word subject, but it is still there in the business. They have become informants and they tell you about what goes on in their minds. This can be conducted with large groups as well as with individuals. But usually the more, the merrier. You cannot generalize results coming from individuals. But if you are dealing with large groups and you come up with inferences, then perhaps you can generalize your results. You can do it one time or even successively. The one-time experiment is usually called in the business cross-sectional investigations. The other ones are called longitudinal. You may opt for a longitudinal configuration intended to detect any progress in learning. That is, you do it at one stage, and then you do it with the same group later on, and you try to see if there is any improvement in the learner's output. I don't want to tell you much and extend this into more lengths. There are in the paper instances, illustrative examples of doing this. You can check on what is called in the business first language interference by listening to learners' intuitions. You can say with a certain degree of certainty whether the cause of a deviation is L1 or not. Is it a developmental deviation or perhaps interlingual? You can make a judgment on whether deviations are errors or mistakes. That is, whether they are lapses or stubborn, fossilized performances, as one investigator called them one time. Of course, there are considerations to be taken into account when conducting this. This is all detailed in the paper. I'll end up with a call on my colleagues to try this at a smaller scale first, and perhaps later on in a more advanced experimental setting. The fact that you will have, of course, a chance now to trace learners' linguistic output back to its origin, where errors, false starts, hesitations, and the like, they can illuminate our understanding of the nature of foreign language processes. Insights into learning mechanism can contribute to a theory of foreign language learning. The prospects of such information can be far-reaching. It can be deployed into areas of investigation like syllabus design, that is the results, methods of teaching, preparation of material, and many other related fields. The insights we gain from this can contribute to a theory of foreign language learning. One more thing is that the fact that it is web-based, that is electronically done, provides economic advantage. It doesn't cost much. And it ensures wide area of coverage. You can involve learners from different parts of the country. And it also opens a gate for online personalized foreign language teaching that is based on learners' needs. Once you have an idea about learners' needs, you can make your way through the process of language teaching with more confidence. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll leave the floor to you now in case anybody would like to make a remark or perhaps a contribution. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, ladies and gentlemen. Back to you, Dr. Aziz.
Good morning, everyone. Can I state my comment?
Thank you so much, Dr. Adil, for this interesting content. Yes, Prof. Nidam. Now the floor is for our colleagues, audiences. They may, interact. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, Professor Nidam.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for all. In fact, I am so interested in this topic, in this the ideas presented in this, let me say, seminar. Everything is well organized. The lecture is enriching, and it enriches our knowledge about the way of learning. Students learn materials, and I think it is a good chance to have such topics to be highlighted. I think that especially our teachers in all levels, I mean, not only primary or secondary, even in college and in all universities, whether in Iraq or Oman or whatever countries. I think teachers are in need for such lectures or such seminars to have an idea about the process of learning. In fact, I am so happy with this, with the knowledge we have here in this seminar. And thanks a lot to Dr. Adil, my old and new colleague. We are proud of Dr. Adil, in fact. He is our old and new, I say again, our colleague. Thank you so much for Zahra College. Thanks a lot to everyone here in this seminar. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Nizam. Thank you very much. Very, very nice to have you here with us this morning. Thank you very much. Shukran. Any more comments, please?
Thank you, Professor Nizam. Thank you so much for kind comments. Your comments are highly appreciated indeed.
Thank you.
Shall we
Thank
go
you,
to
Dr.
the?
Aziz. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Shall we go to the chat box, Dr. Aziz?
Oh,
Yes,
excuse me.
please.
Can I say something?
Yes, sure, you can.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to send my greeting for all our colleagues, wherever they are. And you are really wonderful, whatever you have said. I mean, especially within these lectures, we are very interested, though we've got very short time, but it doesn't matter at all. We are so happy that we can find our teachers always being glorious wherever they go. So thanks a lot. This is all what I want to say to you.
Is this Dr. Istabrak?
Yep, that is.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. A big welcome to you. Now, Dr.
thank you.
Istabrak, Dr. Istabrak is now heading the department which I used to head long time ago. Welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome, Dr. Istabrak. Thank you very much.
Let's see. Also, Dr. Iman with me.
Hello,
Dr. Iman, yes, I welcome Professor Iman.
I left the webinar because
Yes.
I have a meeting now.
Welcome everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your informative lecture.
Yes, you are
Thank
welcome.
you, Doctor.
You
Yeah.
are always
Yes.
welcome.
Miss Khawla is raising her
Miss
hand.
Khawla, she has a question.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Welcome.
Miss
Hello?
Khawla? Miss Khawla?
Yes, please, Miss Khawla. Miss Khawla, please. Yes.
You unmute yourself, Miss Khawla.
I just
Unmute.
wanted to thank
Literature department, and she wants to interact, to comment. Yes, please, Miss Khawla.
Dr. Adil for this information. It's really very useful. Especially, I think this can be applied in our department when language for to learn, so they know how to develop and how to improve their language skills and their actually. As usual,
Unfortunately,
very useful information.
voice quality,
Thank you very much.
unfortunately.
Dr. Adil, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, this is Dr. Yahya, Dr. Adil.
Dr. Yahya, welcome, Dr. Yahya.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for this really very fruitful presentation. We really learn a lot, although it's very difficult techniques you are using, but still we gain some things from you. I just want to highlight something. You know, the research is very important for our students, and I need the students to have the desire to research. So how we can share students such a presentation or such research you are conducting? It's really very high level of research, this paper. So I want our students to have insights in such work. Yeah, as a doctors, teachers, we have the research techniques, but more importantly now, that students lack of such skills. So what do you think? How we can share research skills that you are using in this very useful paper? Thank you, Dr. Ad.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yahya. Thank you so much. Actually, I made the call for use of this device, this theoretical construct by teachers. But nevertheless, there is no harm in explaining it to our students who might know about a style of research which is interested in mental processes. They can even try it for themselves or among themselves. I mean, each student asks someone to record something and forward it to her or exchange it with her, and they can exchange the way they look at information. While, yes, this is a very good prospect. Thank you, Dr. Yahya. It's a very useful piece of information. It can be used by students, yes, but I would say that it is mainly intended for practitioners, for applied linguists, people who might be interested in mental processes. It can be, of course, done when done by students. It can be done on a low profile scale, that is using mobile phones only, and they exchange information among themselves. Yes, yes, it is possible. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Yahya.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Okay.
Aziz, we have a very big chat box content.
Yeah.
I don't think we
So
have time.
any
Do we
more
have time for
comments,
that?
please? Yes. Any more comments? So the link, I posted the link. Please try. I would like to apologize indeed for our guests from outside Oman. They will not be able to fill the form because we have our own platform, and that's why they will not be able to access the form. At the same time, I would like to thank them for attending and for participating. Thank you so much for our guests from outside Oman. Thank you. And also, I would like to remind our audiences that the link is now active. Please try to fill the form. The form has two parts. The first part is meant for the audiences in general, but the second part for the audiences and the participants from English Language and Literature Department and GFP. So the participants from GFP and English Language and Literature Department, they can fill the two parts together, but the other participants who are outside these two departments, they can fill the first part only.
Dr. Aziz, there is a hand there, Miss Indu.
Yes, Ms. Indu. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Adil, Dr.
Yes,
Aziz,
Indu.
Dr.
Yes,
everyone.
Indu. Sorry,
Yes.
sorry to keep you waiting. Sorry.
It's
Yes,
okay,
sorry,
sir.
Ms. Indu.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adil, for the wonderful presentation. And the Department of English is very lucky that we can use this wonderful presentation in some of our courses. As Ms. Kaula also has pointed out, we have courses like Seminar in Language, Methods of Scientific Research. Apart from the practical ways, the teachers and students can use this in their teaching and learning nexus, actually. So this is going to be very useful in a course that I'm dealing with, that is Seminar in Language. The theoretical framework, everything, actually it's an innovative one, a new one, so which we can use it in our methodology as well as specifically this course, Dr. Adil. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ms. Indu. Thank you very much. This is left to you now. It's in your hand now.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Dr.
thank you,
Adil.
Dr. Adil.
Yes.
Yes, you may fill the form, Ms. Indu, and you know, keep these comments in the Menti space. So,
Sure, sure.
any more comments, please, from your side before we end this this episode? This is first episode, and let me call it this phenomenon, because it is the first time it happens at our college. I'm very happy indeed for all those whom they participated, and especially we have guests from outside Oman. This means that it is a successful episode. Thank you, Dr. Adil. Thank you so much for the interesting content. Thank you, Dr. Musallam, for attending. Thank you for all of you. Thank you, Dr. Yahya. Thank you for all others. whom they participated from our department, English Language and Literature Department, and from other departments, GFP and other departments. Thank you, Prof. Nizam. You are always welcome anytime. Anytime you are always welcome. Yes, we have so many other episodes. We have so many other episodes, so you are welcome. You are invited always.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let me end this episode for today. Thank you for all of you. Take care, please. This link, try to fill the form and send it today so that we can decide whether we can, use this paper in our courses or not. Thank you so much.
شكرا جزيلا. نلقاكم إن شاء الله في مناسبات قادمة. شكرا دكتور عزيز. Let me reiterate my gratitude to Dr. Musallam for this initiative. It's a very scholarly initiative which will definitely be useful to all concerned. Thank you, Dr. Aziz. Thank you, Scientific Forum Committee. See you, inshallah, in the future in more episodes. Goodbye, everybody. في أمان الله وحفظه جميعا.
Okay. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.